During World War II, the standard issue of weapons was tightly controlled. Armies meticulously regulated what soldiers could carry, down to the caliber of sidearm, the number of magazines, and even the type of ammunition. Officially, everything had a purpose, from the mass-produced rifles to the pistols issued to officers. But war is messy, and the battlefield is unpredictable. Soldiers quickly realized that regulations often failed to account for the realities they faced on the front lines. It was here, in the chaos of combat, that many men carried sidearms that were technically banned, guns that were forbidden by military law, deemed unreliable or outright illegal under international conventions. Despite the risk of punishment, these weapons found their way into the hands of soldiers because they offered something the standard issue could not: a sense of control, versatility, and, in many cases, survival. Some of the most common banned sidearms were captured from the enemy. A German soldier might slip a Luger from a fallen comrade into his pack, while an American soldier could pick up a captured Walther P-38 after a skirmish. These guns weren't just trophies. They were practical tools. Soldiers quickly learned that certain enemy weapons were lighter, more compact, or more powerful than what their own army issued. They became extensions of the soldier's instincts, tools for situations where their standard issue weapons were either too bulky, too slow, or unavailable. In many cases, the sidearm a soldier kept concealed was the difference between life and death in close quarters combat. Beyond captured weapons, some soldiers carried firearms that were forbidden for other reasons. Experimental pistols and prototypes, often pulled from research labs or military stockpiles, found their way into the trenches and field units. These guns might have been banned because they were unreliable, prone to jamming, or not yet approved for general issue. Yet soldiers were pragmatic. On the front lines, a weapon that could fire one more round or fit comfortably into a trench coat could mean the difference between escaping a firefight or becoming a casualty. The banned status of a gun mattered little when survival was at stake. Concealment and modification were also key. Soldiers often altered their sidearms to make them more usable in combat. Some shortened barrels to make pistols easier to carry. Others removed unnecessary parts to reduce weight. And some even combined components from multiple guns to create a hybrid weapon that could function under extreme conditions. These were not careless tinkering projects. They were deliberate, practical adaptations born from experience. When armies issued the same weapons to thousands of men, individual ingenuity became a form of empowerment, allowing a soldier to tailor his sidearm to the unique dangers he faced in urban combat, forest skirmishes, or trench warfare. Carrying banned sidearms also had a psychological component. In the fog of war, knowing that you had an extra tool at your disposal provided a sense of security that official regulations could not offer. The presence of a personal firearm, a weapon chosen, modified, and carried according to a soldier's instincts, offered confidence. Soldiers often formed deep attachments to these guns, treating them as trusted partners in a world where uncertainty was constant. In letters home and later memoirs, many veterans recalled their hidden or forbidden sidearms with a mixture of nostalgia and respect, describing them not as contraband but as lifelines. It's important to understand that these decisions were made under extraordinary circumstances. War is a context where rules bend, and the human instinct for survival overrides bureaucracy. Military authorities understood this tension and often tolerated minor infractions when the practical benefits were obvious, even if technically forbidden. However, the consequences of being caught with a banned sidearm could be severe, ranging from disciplinary action to formal reprimand. Soldiers walked a fine line, weighing the risk of punishment against the immediate, tangible advantages of carrying these unconventional weapons. Ultimately, the story of banned sidearms in World War II is a story of ingenuity, adaptation, and personal initiative. Soldiers did not simply disobey regulations for rebellion's sake. They acted out of necessity, creativity, and survival instinct. These sidearms became extensions of the soldier himself, reflecting his environment, his challenges, and his ingenuity in the face of the unimaginable chaos of global conflict. They are reminders that, even in the most regulated and organized military systems, the individual experience on the battlefield can redefine what is necessary, practical, and ultimately life-saving. Carried quietly, often hidden, sometimes modified, these forbidden weapons were more than just guns. They were symbols of a soldier's resourcefulness and determination. They remind us that the history of war is not only written in the strategies of generals or the outcomes of major battles, but also in the small, personal decisions that shaped life and death on the ground. In the end, these banned sidearms were not just contraband. They were lifelines, companions, and tools that reflected the extraordinary circumstances of soldiers surviving in a world at war. Carrying a banned sidearm during World War II was never a decision taken lightly. Soldiers understood the rules and they understood the consequences. Armies made it clear. Unauthorized weapons were illegal, could undermine unit discipline, and in some cases violated international conventions. Yet, on the battlefield, the rules of bureaucracy often collided with the rules of survival. Soldiers faced a world of uncertainty where the perfect weapon could be the difference between life and death, and the risks of breaking regulations were often outweighed by the potential rewards. Every man who slipped a forbidden pistol into his pack knew he was gambling, not just with his life in combat, but also with the military justice system. The risks were real. Being caught with a banned weapon could lead to formal punishment, loss of rank, or even court-martial in some cases. Armies were highly disciplined institutions, and commanders emphasized strict adherence to regulations to maintain order amidst the chaos of war. A single rogue soldier with an unauthorized firearm could create confusion, accidental injuries, or undermine the coordinated strategies of the unit. This was especially sensitive when the banned weapon was powerful, experimental, or prone to misfire. Despite these dangers, soldiers often carried these guns because the benefits were immediate, tangible, and highly personal. The advantages of banned sidearms went far beyond simple firepower. Many of these weapons offered features that standard-issue pistols did not. They could be lighter, easier to conceal, faster to draw, or simply more reliable under adverse conditions. In close-quarter combat, the difference of a half-second or a single extra round could decide life or death. Soldiers also valued versatility. Some banned pistols could use ammunition that was more readily available in the field, or could serve dual purposes as both a self-defense weapon and a tool for intimidating enemies during raids or skirmishes. These practical considerations made carrying a forbidden sidearm a calculated risk rather than a reckless choice. Psychological factors also played a major role. The presence of a personal weapon, chosen and maintained by the soldier himself, created a sense of control in an environment where control was otherwise limited. Armies are structured hierarchies, where orders come from above and obedience is expected. But the chaos of battle often left soldiers exposed and isolated. Having a banned sidearm offered a feeling of empowerment, a private source of security that official-issued weapons could not always provide. It could boost confidence, calm nerves in tense situations, and even inspire bravery in moments of extreme danger. Many soldiers later described these guns as trusted companions, small extensions of their will to survive. These weapons also shaped battlefield outcomes in subtle but significant ways. A soldier with a concealed Luger or Walther could surprise an enemy officer during an ambush, changing the dynamics of a skirmish. In urban combat or close quarters, where standard rifles were cumbersome, a small, reliable pistol could dominate a situation. The edge provided by a forbidden weapon was not just physical, it was tactical. The ability to act faster, strike more decisively, or defend oneself in moments of chaos made these sidearms invaluable, despite their legal status. Carrying a banned weapon required ingenuity and discretion. Soldiers often had to conceal the gun in a way that avoided detection by superiors. Some hid pistols inside packs, under coats, or even in seemingly innocuous personal items. Others modified the weapons to make them more portable or to improve performance under extreme conditions. This blending of risk, skill, and necessity highlights how personal decision-making could intersect with military operations. A single soldier's choice to carry a banned pistol could ripple through a unit's tactics, sometimes tipping the balance in life or death situations. Ultimately, the decision to keep a forbidden sidearm demonstrates a balance between obedience and pragmatism. Soldiers did not flout rules out of rebellion. They calculated risks. They weighed the possibility of punishment against the tangible advantages of added protection, firepower, and psychological security. They understood that the rules were designed for order, but survival required flexibility. The banned sidearm was a personal adaptation to the extreme unpredictability of war, a way to navigate a world where regulations were secondary to immediate needs. The story of these weapons also sheds light on the human side of combat. War is often portrayed as large-scale strategy, with generals, battalions, and machinery determining the course of events. Yet much of a soldier's experience depended on small choices. Which rifle to carry, how to approach an enemy position, and whether to risk punishment for a weapon that could save a life. Banned sidearms exemplify this tension perfectly. They were more than contraband. They were survival tools, tactical innovations, and deeply personal decisions that reflected the realities of life on the front lines. In the end, the risks of carrying a banned sidearm were undeniable, but so were the rewards. Soldiers who made this choice did so with full awareness, relying on their ingenuity, judgment, and courage. These weapons shaped moments of combat, provided psychological reassurance, and, in many cases, saved lives. They remind us that war is not only about grand strategies or famous battles, but also about the personal decisions, adaptations, and resourcefulness of individual soldiers navigating a world defined by uncertainty, danger, and survival.